Wisconsin, he had been interested in geology. He understood that below the crust of the earth lay dark rivers and lakes of crude, and that crude was made of compressed corpses, the bodies of once living things, plants and algae and microbial beings. He understood that its excavation was a kind of resurrection, that all these dead things, so long gone, would now animate the world. But right now, the hammers and pistons of the oil field below were immobile. The giant lake of crude locked up like a safe. Production was stalled due to a thorny political impasse. Iran had evicted Anglo-Iranian Oil, the British company that had built and reaped the profits of the Abadan refinery. Whoever could get the oil flowing again would gain access to one of the world's largest oil fields. This was of great interest to the men on this plane. To Nick, the flight that night felt like a treacherous oil industry cocktail party. He did not like flying, which he associated with the war, and he was wary of being trapped for hours with his colleagues, all growing steadily drunker, himself included, in a tin vessel thousands of feet above the earth. He was a junior lawyer for the American oil legal team, and this was his first trip to the Middle East. He felt an irrational, gnawing concern that his boss, George Monroe, who was 3 sheets to the wind already, would look at him and say, "What the hell is this kid doing here?" Although he wasn't a kid. He was 30 years old, a veteran of a world war, a husband and a father of 2, a property owner in the state of Connecticut. But something about Monroe's bearing, the thick jowls and swaggering bravado of his speech, suggested that underneath his boardroom success he had the instincts of a grade school bully. The war had taught Nick to spot that sort of thing. The only women on this plane were 2 stewardesses, one of whom was chatting up a group of oilmen at the front. The other, a thin, dark-haired girl, seemed nonplussed by her colleagues' fraternizing and delivered beverages with a nurse's brisk, slightly reproving authority. On Nick's way to the lav, he caught her standing at the cramped service counter, surreptitiously reading. "Good book?" he asked, and she jumped like a startled deer. "Just a silly novel." But he had seen the cover, Tess of the D'Urbervilles. He felt a pang of pity for her, having to pretend a work of literature was junk. It made him think of his wife, Bet. Before they married, she had planned to get a Ph.D. in literature. Now she was a mother and a wife, and she had no time to read. When he left to catch his train into the city for work, he could feel the javelin of resentment she leveled at him. But the world of ideas and power and action she imagined Nick setting off to was nothing like the office of American Oil. That was the rub. Nick had taken the job with grand ideas about international law as the only bulwark between peace and conflict, civilization and chaos. Without it, humans were no better than animals, rutting about in the fields, taking what they wanted, eating those in their way. This was why he had gone to law school in the first place. In retrospect, his idealism seemed naive. So far, his job had been mundane, even tedious. Of course, it had accomplished another and arguably more important goal. It laid the foundation for a solid, upwardly mobile Taylor family life. His wife did not have to work her fingers to the bone the way his mother had. His children were growing up with toys and dentistry and indoor plumbing, and that was progress, wasn't it? When Nick returned to his place, a tall, craggy-faced man had plopped himself down in the seat beside his. "Mind if I join you, Taylor?" the man asked. The man, his name was Carter Weston, had been in Nick's class at Yale. They had been more acquaintances than friends. Nick was a poor scholarship boy from the Midwest, son of a Mennonite minister, and Carter was a 4th-generation prep school type, tall and blond, a member of the school's most elite social clubs. They had both studied history of the Near East. In Nick's case, this was almost by accident, some arm-twisting on the part of the head of the scrappy, newly funded department who needed more students to enroll.